Greetings, fellow hikers. On today's adventure, I took on one of the most underrated routes in Griffith Park, hiking from Amir's garden all the way to the Mount Lee summit that sits right behind the Hollywood sign. Views were insane, and the history was even crazier. Let's go ahead and check it out together on the trail. All right, so starting out with a map that I picked up from one of the rangers in the park, our adventure starts at the golf clubhouse parking, which is right nearby the trailhead to Amir's garden. We're going to take that up to the North Trail past Toyon Canyon landfill, leading up to Mount Chapel trailhead that connects to Mount Lee Drive and concluding our hike, the Mount Lee summit. All right, so quick bag check for this hike. I did bring my jacket, water, some nuts, and plenty of suntan lotion. All right, so kicking it off at the parking lot, that's where I drove in. And just down on the lower lot is the valet for the golf clubhouse. And making our way, you'll see our first marker point, which is that tower up ahead. I'm not sure what it's for, but we're going to use that to pivot onto the trailhead to Amir's garden. So coming from that tower, you're going to see the trailhead just in sight ahead of you. There is additional parking on the upper lot. Plenty of parking on this day, but it can get really busy, so just be aware. Alright, so continuing up the path here, there's going to be our first junction. We're going to veer off to the left and continue up this fire road. You're going to see our second marker point resides next to it, the trailhead for Amir's garden. Continuing on the trail, you'll notice the grade picks up fairly quickly, but one of the rewarding aspects of that is you're going to get these beautiful vistas just behind you. Alright, so you're going to see this sign, and one of the first indicators that we are actually on the right track are going to be these unusual stairs. You're going to notice that a bunch of trails kind of veer off from each other. The best way to stay on the right path is just to choose the one that continuously goes up. But before you know it, you are at Amir's garden. Little backstory about Amir: after a wildfire scorched the hillside, he spent over 30 years hauling water, planting trees, and turning a burn scar into this peaceful sanctuary. Look closely and you'll see the memorial, the pottery, and plants that the hikers still care for today. And you're going to see our adventure continues. You are going to eventually happen upon a infographic sign. The sign marks one of the darkest moments in Griffith Park's history, the 1933 wildfire that killed 28 workers. It's still recorded as one of the deadliest fires in California history and happened right below the canyon. Just over to the right, you'll see LA Zoo water tank and a white water tank. Once you reach it, you're going to come across another junction, veering off to the right and left. The left is actually our path we want to be on, And if you're ever unsure, we always have signage to help us along the way. All right, so just to the right of us is Toyon Canyon. Um, Believe it or not, this is actually one of, or used to be one of LA's largest landfills. It operated from the 50s through to the 80s, long before environmental regulations were strict. Today it's sealed and monitored, and surprisingly hidden from most hikers. You're going to see a trail off to the right. You're going to want to avoid those, and you're going to stick to the furthest left, and that's where our journey continues on. This is your perfect opportunity to use the restroom if you have to. Our trail continues off to the right and up. You're going to come across this electrical tower. I did hear the electricity running through it. I thought that was kind of neat. Is our next junction. We are actually going to be heading towards just right of the junction coming from the trailhead that we just came from. You'll see Cahuenga Peak off in the distance. Now, coming out from the area we just came, you'll see two roads splitting off. We're actually going to take this left path, and just past it is the trail we're going to be taking. That's Mount Chapel Trail. You'll notice that the road intersects with Mount Chapel, and our point of interest is actually the trail that takes us to Tank 153. Alright, so here's that intersection that I was talking about. We're going to continue up this path, which will eventually take us to Tank 153. This next bit gets a little spicy with some light bouldering, narrow ledges, and a couple of spots where the trail hangs over a steep drop. Just mind your footing and respect the trail, and you should be fine. All right, another junction. We're going to avoid that trail off to the left and continue to the right in the direction of the Mount Lee radio tower. And you'll eventually come across this rugged rock formation. And you'll see, it's hard to tell, but the trail does continue down off in the distance there. Safely passing that rock formation, you're going to eventually get to this hilltop. And just off to the right, you're going to see the trail that heads down and connects to Mount Lee Drive. Now we're going to start seeing some signs of civilization. It's pretty much smooth sailing up to the top of Mount Lee from here on out. And just over to the side there, you're going to see the Cahuenga Peak Monument. A quick wild fact, this peak almost became a row of luxury mansions from a developer that bought it in 2008. Fortunately, there was a grassroots campaign, and in a Hollywood-like plot twist, Hugh Hefner actually ended up saving it from that outcome. And before you know it, we've reached our destination. Once you're all finished up, we are going to start making our way out and back from the way that we came in